Now we will be looking at environmental sustainability and disease in Sri Lanka. Right now we're looking at some of the water sources in Sri Lanka. In terms of access to improved drinking water and sanitation, nearly 85% of households have access to an improved drinking water source, and 94% of households to improved sanitation in 2006-2007. These already exceed the Millennium Development targets of the country. However, there are still large disparities across the sectors. In rural areas, access to improved water sources drops to 85%, whereas in the estate sector, less than 3 in 5 households have similar access. So right now we're just looking at the National Water Supply and Drainage Board, which is right there under C. And on the left-hand side, you can see that these are other places that are taking care of the water for the country of Sri Lanka. Now, we're going to be looking at one more place. Now we're going to be looking at the forest reserves. Sri Lanka's forest coverage and CO2 emission situation has deteriorated steadily over time. By the year 2005, the forest coverage has come down to less than 30% of the total land area, and the per capita carbon dioxide emission per year has increased from 0.20 mt to 0.64 mt between 1990 and 2005. However, there are also positive changes. Consumption of ozone-depleting substances in Sri Lanka has been gradually declining, and the ratio of area protected to maintain biological diversity to surface area has increased from 15.5 in 1990 to 17.2 in 2005. Another reason part of the forestation has depleted is because of the tsunami in 2004. Now we're going to be looking at disease, and this right here is the National STD and AIDS Control Program. Sri Lanka remains as one of the few countries in the region with a low-level HIV epidemic. According to the MDG Country Report 2008-2009, a cumulative total of 1,029 persons have been detected with HIV infection and 266 persons with AIDS. More than 60% of the reported HIV infections in 2006 were in the Western Province. However, the country is still vulnerable to the development of concentrated HIV epidemic due to the high-risk behavioral patterns and networks, and only about 1/3 of the population aged 15 to 24 years possesses comprehensive knowledge about HIV infection. Now we'll be looking at malaria. And we're taking you to a location here called the Regional Office of Anti-Malaria Campaign in the Western Province of Sri Lanka. Even though the spread of malaria occurs in most parts of the country, the overall malaria situation in Sri Lanka is improving significantly. There are no severe cases of deaths from malaria in 2006, though a total of 591 cases of malaria were reported. Use of bed nets are now used pretty much all over the country in order to reduce malaria. Now we're looking at tuberculosis. As Sri Lanka currently has an effective response to the tuberculosis epidemic, there has been a significant decline in the incidence of tuberculosis. However, Sri Lanka may be unlikely to achieve the target of having the incidence and death rate due to tuberculosis, unless it launches a special program to reduce the incidence of tuberculosis. So that would probably be, right now, the greatest threat within Sri Lanka. But here's a number of places that, if someone were ill, could go, just a list of hospitals within Sri Lanka. As you can see on the left-hand side, just within Colombo, the capital, there's numerous hospitals. Lots of different options. So now we're going to take a look at what it would be like in a different province, a less populated, more rural, as in the Eastern Province. As you can see, all the yellow tabs are all different hospitals. So even in the most rural areas, they do have access to care centers here.